Whatever happened to the Tea Party? Remember those guys? Or did you forget they ever existed? Well, obviously they couldn't fit into our current political environment. Yeah, it's too crowded right now. The noise today is deafening. MAGA's been making all the ruckus lately.
It's a lot of people.
Rallies, headlines, and plenty of chaos. But before there was MAGA, there was another army waving flags and shouting about freedom. Yeah, that was the good old Tea Party. It came out of nowhere, promising to take America back from the politicians and the bankers. And then, almost as fast as it rose, it disappeared. Or did it? Let's dig into what really happened and what it turned into, right now on the Anything History Channel. It all started not just in one moment, but in two massive political earthquakes that hit the United States simultaneously. First, the country was reeling from a financial meltdown. Banks were collapsing, jobs were disappearing, and people were losing their homes. Then the government swooped in, trillions in bailouts, and the very conservatives who preached free market purity felt betrayed. Second, the 2008 election delivered a visceral shock.
11 p.m. on the East Coast. We're back on the air, and we have news.
Barack Obama is projected to be the next president.
Barack Obama, 47 years old, will become the president-elect.
And even today, there are some who can never get over it. They can't let it go from their minds. That was the election of Barack Obama, the nation's first African-American president. It created a sense of profound change that angered and mobilized a specific segment of the population concerned about the country's rapidly changing identity. I wonder who that was.
President Obama, are you listening?
The outrage found its voice when a frustrated CNBC reporter named Rick Santelli went off on live television. He ranted about losers' mortgages and called for a new Tea Party.
We're thinking of having a Chicago Tea Party in July. All you capitalists that want to show up to Lake Michigan, I'm going to start organizing.
His reference was to the 1773 Boston Tea Party, where American colonists destroyed British tea to protest taxation without representation, a foundational moment of anti-government rebellion. Within days, that phrase caught fire. Ordinary Americans, and a few not-so-ordinary billionaires, saw a chance to channel all that anger into a movement. Rallies exploded across the country. "Don't tread on me" flags waved, and the Tea Party was born. It branded itself as a pure grassroots uprising, demanding "taxed enough already," a return to fiscal sanity, lower taxes, and a radical reduction in the national debt. But behind the scenes, it was quickly courted and quietly funded by deep-pocketed political groups like the Koch brothers network. The movement's organic anger was instantly amplified by conservative media juggernauts, particularly the Fox News ecosystem, creating a powerful, self-reinforcing echo chamber that fed the frenzy. The movement's true power was in its strategy. They were an insurgent faction whose target wasn't just Democrats. They went after their own, longtime establishment Republicans who weren't pure enough. Suddenly, compromise was betrayal. Moderates were out. Firebrands were in. Figures like Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and the magnetic Sarah Palin became symbols of a new kind of Republican, one that didn't play nice. They deliberately embraced a strategy of political destabilization, sending shockwaves through Washington, and successfully flipping Congress in the 2010 midterms. This faction introduced the art of high-stakes political obstruction, famously using the threat of government shutdowns and debt ceiling defaults, not as a negotiating tool, but as a ritualistic display of ideological warfare against both parties. But here's the crucial turning point. Over time, the movement's defining fiscal discipline began to fade. The focus on lowering the national debt was replaced by cultural grievance and identity politics. The anxiety over changing demographics and the perceived decline of traditional white American culture took center stage. The fiscal platform was the entry point. The cultural battle was the main event. By the time 2016 rolled around, the Tea Party label had faded from headlines due to infighting and institutional burnout. But the mood it created, the deep distrust of government, the hatred of elites, the belief that America was being stolen, That didn't fade at all. It just evolved. When Donald Trump came down that golden escalator, he didn't start a revolution. He inherited one. He took the Tea Party's fury, repackaged it with reality TV flair, and called it MAGA. The slogans changed, but the anger was the same. Instead of "Don't tread on me," it became "Make America Great Again." Instead of "Taxed enough already," it was "They're coming for your country." The movements share an undeniable DNA, a furious contempt for liberal elites and the media, and a deep-seated feeling of status threat. In many ways, Trump was the Tea Party's final product, the anti-politician who played politics better than anyone else. But he fundamentally discarded their core tenet, fiscal conservatism. The movement that once abhorred taxes and deficit spending now embraced massive tariffs and showed little concern for the national debt. It became an ideology defined by loyalty to a person rather than loyalty to a principle. And just like that, the Tea Party disappeared into the red hat. But let's be clear, it didn't die. It mutated. It became an ideology without borders, without rules, and without shame. A movement born out of fear of big government grew into a force willing to bend government to its absolute will. And here's the kicker. The very establishment the Tea Party swore to destroy now bends to the same outrage machine it built. The rebellion became the rule. The fire that once burned against the system now fuels it. So, whatever happened to the Tea Party, you wonder? The real story is that the fire it started, the contempt, the chaos, and the radicalization, was so hot it simply melted the Republican Party down and forged it into something entirely new. This is the Anything History channel. If you found this story worth your time, give it a like, drop your thoughts below, and stick around, because the next one might just change how you see history again.